Hiya folks, welcome back to Dad's Farm, and today I'm going to give you my ultimate tour of how to make money from silage without spending an absolute fortune. This is about the best way that I've found of doing it. I'm also going to give you a little tip later on to get absolutely the optimal yield from your grass, and you'll get an unbelievable amount of silage in one pass with the baler. I'll tell you about that later on. You can make quite a lot of money from silage, and if you're just looking to kind of build up a bit of a pot of cash, this is quite a good way of doing it. Once you've got the equipment, it's a relatively cheap crop. It has almost zero cost to it, so it's worth doing, and you can get helpers to help with quite a lot of the stuff as well. But I'll take you through the equipment that you're going to need. So this is the equipment I've settled on. Obviously there's more than one way of doing this, but this is quite a good way of doing it, I've found. First of all, you're going to need a mower of some description to actually cut the grass. I'm going to give you all the figures in UK pounds. Obviously, if you're playing in dollars, then the figures might be slightly different, but you'll get the general kind of idea. I'm using a slightly odd combination of two Kuhn GMD 4411 mowers. They're 16 grand each. You would probably be better off going for the Pottinger NovaCat 301ED front mower and one of the Kuhn mowers. Slightly more expensive doing it that way. This was a little bit of an experiment. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but I just wanted to try and see if it was possible to use two of these, and you can. Once I've got enough money, I'll buy a great big Pottinger mower that can do a much wider kind of strip than these can do, but you can get by just with one mower to start off with. It's up to you. Once you've mowed the grass, you're going to have to windrow it. I really like the Kuhn GA9531. It's 30k, it has a really wide spread on it, works really well. You don't have to windrow it, but if you don't, then the baling's going to take much longer, so it's worth windrowing it. And then obviously you're going to need a baler and a wrapper if you're going to be turning it into silage bales. Grass bales are worth like nothing, but silage bales are worth quite a lot. So that is the route you're going to want to go down. So you need to wrap the bales in plastic to do that. And I've found one of the best ways of doing that is with the Kuhn FBP 3135. It's the most expensive investment in all of this. It's 76 grand for one of those, but trust me when I say it's worth it. And then finally you need some sort of way of getting the bales to wherever you're going to sell them. And this is the only mod that I'm using on the game, and it's Flegel TPW 100 round bales edition, which is £9,000, and it's an auto loader for your bales. You can manually load up each bale using some sort of like front loader attachment. It will take you forever. So in my view, for the sake of my own sanity, I do use the auto loading trailer. It is a bit of a cheat, I know, but that's up to you. In terms of tractors, I'm just using a New Holland T6 and a New Holland T7. You need one vaguely powerful tractor, because once you've got the bales all loaded up and things, a smaller tractor's probably not going to cut it. You don't need a particularly powerful tractor for the baler. I'll show you once we get going on this. We're going to be baling so much grass that a powerful tractor is kind of pointless, because the baler's going to fill up before you can actually get anywhere. So in terms of the equipment costs, the total outlay there is 147k if you go for that gear. As I say, you can go for slightly different combinations of stuff, but you're going to be looking around that kind of figure. In terms of tractors, I'm assuming you've already got tractors, but if you haven't, I've just gone for the New Holland T6 and T7. The T6 is 102k, the T7 is 240k. So if you include all of that, that comes to £489,000 total outlay. But you'll see once we get going with this, we'll be repaying that relatively quickly. Then finally, you need a grass field that you can cut the grass and bale it up. So you can either just buy a field with grass already on it, such as this one, or you can plant your own grass field, which is what I've done here. You'll just need to either hire or buy a planter of some description and some seed, and then plant the grass and wait for it to grow. Or the slightly cheaty version of doing things is that you can use the landscaping tool and just paint grass wherever you want. It is a little bit cheaty, I suppose. It just creates a big area of grass. If you're going to be doing that, you need this sort of grass here that I've shown in the bottom right corner. I don't know if you can make that out, but that is the sort of grass that you're going to need, and you just basically paint that onto whatever field or area you want to mow. Let me just show you on a little bit up here. So there you go. I'm literally just painting the grass on. So this sort of short grass here, that'll never grow, so you do need to paint it with the type of grass that's going to grow, and that is this sort basically, and that costs you next to nothing. So that's like a really cheap way of creating a grass field, is to do that. It's a very cheap way of doing things. It depends how realistic you want things to be in your gameplay, I guess. One final tip when you come to buy a field that you're going to be harvesting the grass from is to try and pick a relatively level field, because the round bales do tend to roll away. If nothing else, try and level off the bottom end of the field, and at least that way they'll hopefully stop. Either that or build up some sort of area to stop them from rolling away, otherwise they will just keep rolling and rolling until they get to the lowest point on the map. And then finally, the only other thing you need to know is when you're going to be selling them. This is your silage icon here. You can see they're currently at £356, which is actually a really good price for silage. It's a good time to be selling at the minute. I doubt they'll be at that price when I come to sell, but just keep hold of all your bales until they're at a good price, basically. So just keep an eye on that. You can see I've already got a bunch here ready to sell, but I'm going to show you how to do all of this on a brand new field that's planted and ready to harvest. You know it's ready to harvest because it says in the bottom right there, ready to harvest. Oh, and by the way, fertilizer. I've found it's a good idea to fertilize the field once so that it gets 50% fertilizer on. Doing it 100% doesn't seem to make any difference, but once you've done it 50%, that's it. I don't think you ever need to fertilise it again. You don't need to replant the grass or anything. It'll just keep growing after you've cut it. So that's it. Just make sure it's 50% fertilised and you never have to touch it again. So as I say, this is my slightly weird mower combo that I'm using. I don't particularly advise doing this setup because helpers get really confused with it. And you'll often set a helper away and the tractor will just be sitting there doing like really weird things because it doesn't know how to handle it. So you'll see the problem with this kind of setup is that you've got that strip in the middle that doesn't get mowed, and you can obviously come back and mow over that strip, but it's probably not the most efficient way of doing things. As I say, it was a bit of an experiment. This you'd be better off just getting the front mower attachment and one of these for the back. So the optimal way of doing things with this combo is to come back like this, but helpers won't do that. Helpers don't understand that that is the most efficient way of doing it, and the helper will just completely miss out the strip that hasn't been mowed. So I've set a helper away now to do this next little bit, and just to demonstrate what happens with helpers and this mower configuration. It's not the best way of doing things. You're better off just getting the Pottinger front mower that goes in the middle and then the side mower for the back that we've already got there. So you can get the general idea. That's what the helper does. So I'm going to take the helper off this, which unfortunately means he's going to lift the mowers up. So I'm just going to finish this field off manually myself because it'll be way quicker if I do it. So that's the first cut done. Now I mentioned a little tip earlier on to get maximum yield for kind of minimum effort, and what we're going to do now is just wait for the grass to regrow. Don't be tempted to go out there with the windrower, because doing it this method where we're going to do 2 cuts before we windrow it will get you an unbelievable amount of silage for minimal effort. So it doesn't take that long for the grass to regrow. I'm going to fast forward time a little bit and we'll come back to it very shortly. And there we go. The grass is all ready to harvest. You know it's ready to harvest because if you go and have a look at the grass, you can see in the bottom right it says ready to harvest. We've got a nice early start, bright sunny morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's get this done. And that is us all done with the mowing now, so we're ready to windrow it. Of course, you can do all this with one tractor, but the advantage of having two is that what you could now do is set a helper away doing the windrowing, and then on the bits that the helper has done, you could follow behind it with the baler and do all the baling, and then you can get all that done in one go, basically. But I'm going to do the windrowing, and then I'm going to do the baling afterwards, just to show you. Top tip here is to start towards the bottom of your field if it's on a slope, because obviously that's where all your bales are going to end up rolling to, so you don't want to start at the top of the field and then for your bales to roll all the way down and cover up areas that you haven't baled yet, basically. So I'm going to start at this bottom area and then I'm basically just going to follow the windrower around. The yield from doing it this way is absolutely incredible. You'll see how quickly the baler is filling up. You barely get a chance for the bale to get wrapped and the baler's full again. The helper seems to have completely lost the plot, so I'm just going to go and rescue that tractor quickly. Yep, that's one way to leave it. He's not done a bad job, to be honest. It's just that last little bit. Okay, whatever. Bales are rolling away, just keep an eye on where they're rolling to. I think that one will be fine. It should hit that other bale or the tractor maybe, but there is a mod you can get that tells you where your bales are on the map if you do start losing them. Yeah, it's gonna miss that bale. It's still going. Okay, I'm sure we'll find it. There we go, that's the baling all done. It is slightly underpowered, the T6, for a baler like this, but you can see it fills up so quickly because the yield is so high from doing the two cuts. that it fills up before the tractor runs out of steam anyway. If you've got a particularly steep field, you might have more problems, but it just means that you can use your main tractor for the helper doing the windrowing, basically. But anyway, time to get this all on a trailer and get it sold. Just going to quickly check that none have rolled down here. I don't think they did. I didn't see any roll off over here. The final bit in all of this is obviously to sell them, and on this map we're going to sell them at the barn. That's the only place that takes them as far as I'm aware. This is your silage icon, and normally, I mean, 318's not bad. I have seen it go as high as like 350, 360 or thereabouts, so I'm going to fast forward time a little bit. We'll see if the price goes up a bit, and then we'll get everything sold. Right folks, I've waited a little bit and it's now nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've got a few other jobs done on the farm, and I've sold a few crops and stuff, so you can see my money's gone up quite a lot actually, which is really cool. But check this out folks, the silage price is at £406, which is the highest I've ever seen it at, so it's definitely a good time to sell. So let's get this little lot up to the barn, isn't it? Yeah, to the barn to sell this. So there we go folks, £35,766 from a single grass harvest. Obviously I've had to cut it twice, but I've only had to windrow it once and bale it once. So for a tiny little field, not a bad income there. I think it's about time I bought a bigger bale trailer though. Let us know in the comments your favourite way of baling silage and selling it, and how much you've made, and what map you're on, and what equipment you've got, and all that sort of thing. Take care folks, see you next time.